Like we're ready.
Set.
Just waiting for Enrique's text.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
Okay. All right. The January 11th, 2021 Forest Grove School District Board of Directors meeting is called to order at 5:31 p.m. Roll call of board members present. I'm Mark Everett, board chair present. Kate Grandusky.
Present.
Brad Bafaro.
Present.
Narce Rodriguez.
Present.
Valerie Ingram.
Here.
And Miley Vernon.
Here.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. The school board will hear public comment for unscheduled public appearance received through the designated email address, which is public comment at Forest FGSD k12.or.us and is on the district website. Comments will be read by district staff at the appropriate time on the agenda and will be limited to 3 minutes. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could do introductions of audience and staff real quick.
John O'Neill, Assistant Superintendent.
Kevin Rain, Director of Human Resources.
David Warner, Communications.
Enrique Pignon, Technology.
Okay. Looks like that's it. Thank you, everyone. So next item is approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
I move that we approve tonight's agenda as it's written.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Kate Grandusky,
Yes.
Narce,
Yes.
Valerie,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. So that motion passes. Thank you. I'd like to have Miley, our student rep, give the student rep report at this time if you're ready.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So just a little bit over the past, we had our photo week and it went pretty well. For the amount of time we had it like in advance to prepare for it. On Friday, we did have the donation for food day, and that went well. Every class did participate for that, and it wasn't just one class having a lot and the others having little. Everyone was pretty equal for that, so that was really good. And then for present times, ASB right now, we're meeting, our executive board is meeting every Wednesdays. And then we are going to start student board meetings, and that will be the first and third Thursdays of every month. And so we probably hope to start it in February. Esports, what I got from Kirkman was that they're working to get the word out and still working with our group in ASB to get that figured out. And then we did have, it's an idea and it's still in the process and development of it, but we're going to try to do senior bests. And so basically what I've got from it is that maybe there'll be a survey out. We're not really sure yet, but it'll be basically, I think, from what I've heard, is that the senior that is best at whatever. So almost like senior quotes, but it will be a dedication to the class of 2021. And that's all I have for today.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can I ask you a question? I think you're going to do meetings. Did I hear like the first and the third Wednesday, or is that?
Yeah, for student, oh my gosh, I think it's student board meeting. So we'll have that with every clubs and representatives of all that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks very much for that. Thanks, Miley. All right, moving on, we've got correspondence and celebrations, calendar notes, recognition all kind of rolled into the superintendent report. Mr. Parker.
Thank you. So before I get rolling too far, I just wanted to take a few moments to kind of acknowledge that we have a lot going on in our country right now, and in the Forest Grove School District. While we're all watching the politics play out at the national level, the pandemic continues to be the most impactful thing in our local circumstance here. It continues to be our highest priority to find a way to safely return our students to our schools. We have many barriers that are keeping us from doing those things right now. Current guidelines and metrics that have been laid out at this point are not conducive to reopening our school per se. We're hearing that they're going to be making changes in those metrics, and I'll talk more about that when I present in a little bit here. Vaccine rollout and rapid testing are also in the near future here, but I don't have a lot of information about that. I'll talk more about that coming up. But for me, it's hard to not start out this meeting with at least kind of a recognition that, boy, our local cities are dealing with a lot right now, and for us to at least take notice of those things. Certainly, the pandemic is taking up almost all of our time trying to find that pathway back and figure out what we need to do next. But I just wanted to kind of start that out because it'd be hard not to look at what's gone on since December and not at least acknowledge that we have a lot of things going on in our country right now. I'm going to share my screen real quick here. So next up, I want to talk a little bit about January. January is our School Board Appreciation Month. We want to take this time to thank our board members, Mark Everett, Brad DeFaro, Kate Grandusky, Valerie Ingram, and Narce Rodriguez, and Miley Vernon, who have all spent countless hours working to do what's best for the children that they serve. I'm certain that being a school board member entails more than any of these individuals bargained for when they originally got the idea to run for the board. And especially since March 12th, I don't think any of us really understood the whole, the depth of what it meant to work for schools was going to bring. That being said, they've given us through the years strong leadership through challenges and celebrations, clarity through debate and decision-making, and a sustained vision of excellence for our district. All of these qualities are essential for the organization to be successful. Their sustained leadership and grounded decision-making with student well-being, always the top priority, is a major contributing factor to what has made the Forest Grove School District a great place to learn. Each member contributes his or her own strengths to the district. These different contributions and perspectives make them a formidable group, and these different perspectives actually strengthen their capacity as a board. As they're able to navigate their differences, pick up on each other's perspectives, and ultimately arrive at the best possible outcome for all of our students. We are fortunate to have such a dedicated group of people leading our school district. We want to thank them for their leadership, their commitment to our students and our community, and their support of our mission to continually improve the education system for our students. Our district is without a doubt better because of all of you. So again, I just want to give you a little, in January is that time when we try and celebrate you. And again, you're all in unpaid positions. So the amount of time and care and concern you put into helping us move forward is appreciated. So thank you. With that, I want to talk just a little bit about meals for families over the winter break. So while we did close down all of our buildings in the district office, we were still serving meals. So we're glad to report that the winter meal box distribution was successful. We were able to serve twice as many families than what we originally anticipated when we set up the program. Thanks to Sodexo and their work, we served 303 families, or 817 children, 8,170 meals during the winter break. So thank you very much for Eileen and our Sodexo partners, because again, since March 12th, I don't even know what the number is now, but it's an amazing number of meals that they've served children in our school district. And with that, I am through the comments today.
Okay. Thanks very much, Mr. Parker. Next item is unscheduled public appearance. The board appreciates community members sharing information during public comments. Public comments should be submitted through the designated email address and will be read by district staff. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, as is the protocol during in-person board meetings. Public criticism or complaints about school district personnel is not allowed at this time. Are there any comments that have been received?
Yes, we have one that was emailed in, and it is from Melissa Moore, who is a parent of 2 Forest Grove High School students. It says, I would like to thank our school board for their thoughtful decision-making in the most challenging of times. In-person learning is critically important and would benefit my children as well as others. Unfortunately, with our country's current surge in COVID-19 cases and the new threat posed by more contagious strains of the virus, I would encourage you to delay any return to in-person learning until, at a minimum, all teachers have been vaccinated. It is not reasonable to ask our teachers to put their lives and the lives of their families on the line at a time when there is a light at the end of this long, dark tunnel. Thank you for your consideration, Melissa Moore.
Okay, thanks very much, David. Okay, the consent agenda is the next item. The consent agenda is made up of routine, non-controversial items to be voted on under one motion. Are there any items within the consent items a board member or the superintendent wishes to discuss separately? Okay, hearing none. I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. One more question, are there any questions or any debate about that? Okay. So we'll do a roll call vote. I'm a yes. And Narce?
Yes.
Valerie?
Yes.
Okay. Kate?
Yes.
And Brad?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. We have one presentation this evening that's returning to in-person instruction. Mr. Parker will be presenting, so I'll turn it over to you.
Perfect. Let me get organized here. Today I wanted to go through and kind of bring you up to speed with kind of what the current thinking is. There are things happening every day right now. So I wanted to just kind of brief everybody on where we're at. I also want to talk, so in this, I'll go through and I'll give you an update kind of on what we know about the virus and returning to in-person instruction. And then I'll also do a little bit of update on the legislative process that's about to start and happen for us. So that's kind of what my update will be today. The first thing I wanted to talk about is show you kind of what's happening in Washington County. So this is kind of a graph that I push out to you each week on kind of where we're at. I can tell you I just got the data this next week's data right before the board meeting started, and it basically ticks up slightly. I think it goes to 334 next. So we're seeing a little bit of an increase. We don't know if it's going to continue that way. We should be seeing anything that was going to happen during the Christmas break. We should definitely be starting to see that. So for the most part, we've seen since the high in the late November of 515, we've been seeing a pretty general decrease going on in Washington County. When we talked to Washington County Health today, what we heard from them is that they're seeing it's staying kind of similar. So this new number of 334 fits with kind of what they were saying that they're beginning to see. So we still have, and on this graph, you'll also notice there's a red portion, which is anything above 200 there, 200 cases per 100,000 over 2 weeks. And then you see two other sections, an orange section and a yellow. And in our metrics that they currently have there, that is basically 50 to 200 is this transition period where we should be, if you're in the red, you're basically doing CDL. And as you get into the orange and into the yellow, they want us transitioning back towards more in person. Where in the green, if those numbers, if we get to the green, that's where they want to see us in person. So that's kind of the basic swing. We're still a long ways on the current metrics. We're still quite a ways out. And as I go along today, I think on this presentation, it'd be helpful if you have questions, why don't we just ask them instead of waiting till the end? It might be a little more helpful as we're moving through. But that's kind of our current situation in the county. Here's the information that I kind of have right now. On December 23rd, the governor, in a letter, there was kind of multiple things in the letter, but for the most part, the governor directed the state to make the metrics advisory, which means that school districts could, working with their local county public health and probably the other school districts around them, could make a choice that's different than some districts in Eastern Oregon say. You know, you have this ability to kind of, your situation may be slightly different than somebody else's situation. We got that on the 23rd. And with that, we also got some information around, hey, there's some other things that are coming our way. And so on January 19th, we're expecting to learn more things. And specifically, what this is they were using when they first made these metrics back in July, they were utilizing a set of science to make that recommendation. Since that time, there's been more science that's come out, and specifically there's a Harvard Health group that has put together some recommendations. And you're seeing states like Washington and Colorado are kind of using that guidance to set a new set of metrics. And so we're expecting on the 19th, Oregon to also do something like that. And we're expecting those metrics to be similar to Washington's and Colorado's. California's metrics are still very strict, and I don't see them moving away from where they're currently setting them. But that's what we're told, is that next week we will probably see some sort of adjustment here. The base gist is the only number that I'm expecting to change will be this top number, the number that dictates the change between orange to red. And it's currently at 200, and I'm expecting next week that they're going to move that to 350. And it's much larger. That's also where the science is. They're utilizing some science to make that prediction. We're also expecting them to make changes to the Ready Schools Safe Learners guidance. There's many things in there that are kind of keeping us from opening schools. And so I'm expecting them to make some changes in those. I don't know what those changes are going to be yet, but we're waiting for those. Even with the metrics becoming advisory, we're still going to have to follow what's in that Ready Schools Safe Learners. cohorts of, you can't have cohorts of more than 100. You need to have 35 square feet in between students if you do bring them in. And so there's still a lot that we're going to have to put together in our public health guidelines when we get to the place where we feel like it's safe to bring some students, all students, whatever our decision ends up being. OSBA has also contacted us and said that if you don't follow the advisories, then they're recommending, because it opens you up to be liable. The protections that they gave us in the special session, they do not believe will be there for us if we're not following the school, whatever the school metrics are and whatever's in that Ready Schools Safe Learners guidance. The governor, this has been an interesting thing, because I was hearing and I heard on the news tonight that teachers were moved to 1A, but I'm still getting a lot of different opinions on that. Well, here's what I know is that teachers should, what I'm hearing is that they're either at the top of 1B or they're at the bottom of 1A. So I'll let that one. I know I met today, I'm going to talk about it more as we get towards the bottom of this, but this vaccination piece is really the piece that's getting lots of energy is being spent on it right now. And then before we move from just having a few kids in, limited in person, to anything else, we do need to bargain the changes in the working conditions. And we've already started those meetings with our unions, but I just want to, before we make any large change here, we will have to come up with an MOU that deals with the working conditions for both our certified and our classified unions. Questions on kind of what we know so far? Okay, let's keep rolling here. Status. So here's what we're currently working on. We're currently working with schools and on kind of developing plans for limited in person, which is how do we begin to bring some students, and specifically we've got, it's mostly around kids who are not accessing our curriculum right now. Some of our ELL students who are have difficulties with English and are having problems accessing the materials. Some of our SPED students who cannot access their curriculum and are currently not being served. We're also, I mean, at some point we'll also look at other students who just are not able, either because of internet or some other issue, or not being able to get access. Currently, the numbers we're talking about here are really small. We're working at the high school level right now, and I think there's like with a kind of ELL students, and it's like 16 total students is what we're talking about. And but we've got to develop all the public health guidelines. How do kids move in the school? How do we deal with the masking, the social distancing? Who's doing the inspection of the students when they come in? All of those systems have to get set up. So we're going to start small, and then we'll continue to expand from there. Currently at this level, we would work with teachers. This would be volunteer. This would not be something where we would say, you have to do this. This is your job. We'll work with volunteers. And then we're continuing to plan, just like everybody else in Washington County, how do we return larger numbers of students to school? Elementary, again, in the letter from the governor on December 23rd, she's prioritizing kind of pre-K through 3 and trying to find a way to get those students a lot more time, either in a hybrid or more. And then secondary, I think the planning right now is to leave students in CDL, but then begin to do more and more limited in person, where they're going to start with some pretty small numbers, get their systems ironed out. This would be larger and look to find the kids who are not doing well. The reason for that is the cohorting rules of making sure the kids have no more than 100 contacts really limits our ability to open up middle schools and high schools. That cohorting is kind of the primary limiting factor for us. Whatever the eventual plan is, I think the idea here is that there are some parents who are not going to be comfortable with their kids coming back to school, and we will have a plan for them to be able to stay in CDL too. So that's kind of the general plan for next steps. Barriers that we're encountering on this. January 19th, we're going to see the rules change again. And so it's hard right now to get moving on some of these plans when we know we're going to see some changes happening. Cohorts are still a big one. Vaccine details. This is one of the biggest issues we have right now is if I can only get a portion of my teaching staff into the buildings, it's going to be really hard for me to run school. And so this vaccine, getting our teachers vaccinated or giving them an opportunity to be vaccinated and then getting our folks back to the building is going to be a huge stepping stone for us to really begin to find some way to open up. The vaccine, you know, we met today with Washington County Health and we still don't have the details that we need. There's the Washington County superintendents kind of did some number crunching, and there's about 13,000 educational staff in Washington County that need to get vaccinated, which is a pretty big number. It's not a huge number, but it means that we need to have some logistics set up so that we can get all of those folks what they need in an efficient and effective way. So we're working with Washington County right now because we have resources, and this vaccine is actually one of our highest priorities because we've got to get make it so that our people are safe so we can get these schools rolling again. So I'm expecting in the next week and a half, I'm going to get some more details. There are some school districts in the state who are vaccinating already. Eastern Oregon, and specifically they're vaccinating some of the folks who are working with kids currently who are, you know, in the other, my words are escaping me here, but it's basically students who are, you have to manage kind of physically. And so those employees are at a very high risk. And so they are vaccinating those folks. And then the rest of their folks will be vaccinated on 1B. But this is something that I think is going to change a lot in about the next week and a half, 2 weeks. I think we're going to hear a lot more information, and we're pushing hard to get that. And then the last barrier is just, go ahead.
Can I ask it? So wasn't it in the news that I think there were 5 unions from 5 school districts, teacher unions maybe they were at a meeting maybe that the governor had last week. I can't remember, but along those same lines of trying to get the vaccines into the, well, to move the educators, I guess, up the list. So that, yeah, I guess that message was probably heard by the state, I would imagine.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's a real challenging, you know, when you have scarcity, then there's competition for it. And this is a really tough conversation. I think the governor in the press conference on Friday mentioned that there's trying to find these, like, who should get these shots first and the rest is a real challenge. What I can say is that our teachers are very, very much want to get back in their classrooms. So we've heard loud and clear that they are excited about that. We've also heard that they want to be safe. And so we're certainly going to do our best to make sure that we can try and meet all of these kind of conflicting needs, because of that's the barrier right now for us.
Mm-hmm.
So the current service level, January 19th starts this next legislative session. So I just wanted to update everybody on kind of where we're at money-wise. On December 1st, the Governor Brown released her budget, and I'm going to go through a little bit of that coming up here. The pre-session bill filing deadline was December 21st. I'm told from our contact, Ozzie Rose, that there's more educational bills than there have ever been. I haven't seen what the different names are, but it expects to be a very, very busy legislative season. The session begins January 19th, next week. And the 21 session adjournment is June 28th. This does look to be a virtual legislative session. So there's a lot of conversations about, how do you do the business of the debate, and, a lot of conversations that are happening in the Capitol. It's hard to do that over Zoom. So there's a lot of wondering about how this is all going to happen this year. State school fund. This is the governor's budget, the governor's recommended budget, GRB. State school fund is at 9.1 billion, includes 200 million from the educational stability fund. So they're pulling in some reserves to get it to 9.1 billion. 5 million is added to the state school fund to provide resources for districts most impacted by the wildfires. Districts need in the range of 9.5 billion to maintain current service level. Now that's an average over the state. I've heard other folks in our area as being closer to 9.9. I won't. 9.1 is not our current service level, so we need that budget to be higher. I don't think. I think we'll come in underneath where this 9.5 billion number is, but I will let Eileen kind of come back to you with a more specific number down the road. But at 9.1 billion means we're going to be cutting to just try and continue to maintain the programs and staffing that we currently have. So that's why this is a big deal for us. Student Success Act, they will be funding that at the levels, full funding of Student Success Act and full funding of the Measure 98. That's good news to us. We utilize those monies in kind of highly effective ways. Some of the changes that we're trying to make to impact student achievement, we can now begin to make those. So I'm excited about those pieces. This last one I thought was a really interesting bubble. Early learning, they're funding 8,000 additional slots across the state for pre-K. This is a really, I haven't heard zero details on this yet, but we're about 1% of the state. If they just handed this out based on ADM, that'd be 80 slots to our district. So there's some interesting, exciting things there about what we may be able to do to expand pre-K. A bunch of these, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time. This is the rest of the funding from the governor's budget. There's most of these are kind of statewide programs. There's awesome grants at the bottom there, K-12 facilities. So ability, we use some of this money to do some of the work at Tom McCall. So this is a really positive budget for the most part. We're still short on the current service level, and that's the most important thing. So we'll wait and see kind of how they end up wrangling this. ESSER funding. So here's the second round of stimulus from the feds. It's about $499 million to K-12 education. I don't know yet what the limitations on this, like what strings are going to come with it, but it's about 4 times the amount of money that we had in the spring. So there is, as we're starting to reopen here, there is an ability for us to be able to utilize this to kind of help us get over these barriers that we're currently facing. And I think that's kind of the end of this update of what I know. I don't have as many answers as I'd like right now, but I do think the way things are rolling that we'll have more information specifically about kind of timelines coming up in the next coming couple of weeks here about like when we can begin to see this. The limited in person, we're still rolling on that. I'm meeting with administrators on Thursday. So I think you're gonna get some information of us beginning to do some limited work with students fairly quickly. It's the move to the bigger piece, hybrid or something where we've got pre-K through 3, we have substantial numbers of students coming in. That's still a ways out for us. With that, I would take questions.
So just a question about the ESSER funding. Are those funds here now? Or are they coming?
So I think, I would open this to Eileen here, but so I don't say something I don't know. Nope, got it. What I understand is that they are coming into the state, but we don't yet have the rules,
Okay.
so they can't begin to push those out.
Okay.
That's what I was hearing.
Okay.
So for the ESSER funds, what I can say is we already have the first group of ESSER funds. They came back in the spring to Forest Grove. That was just under $1 million. Strings that were tied to it was relating to opening schools back up, getting students back in place. We've utilized the funds on things like additional custodial, PPE. It's going to support additional IA time. So there's a lot of things that we have set aside that we'll use that original allocation for. But this next set of funds, we should be hearing in the next week or two what strings are attached and what it's going to be designed for. So.
Okay. Thanks.
Other questions that I can answer for you.
David, in your discussions with the teachers union, have we had discussions about teachers who choose not to come back once we get started? And then the other question would be, what about that group of teachers that choose not to be vaccinated?
Yeah. So I think there's two things here. One is that we're working with the union. There will be some folks who are still high risk even after this happens. We'll work through our regular ADA process with them. Normally, if you have a thing that's going to impact your work, we have a process already that we go through to determine if we can provide modifications or accommodations. So we'll use that same process. There is a big distinction here that I think everybody's trying to figure out, and that is there's a point at which we need our employees to come to the building. And because we're going to start having more and more kids coming. I think at the point at which we've offered vaccinations to folks, there's a point at which we say we need people to begin to report. If we can work situations for them, we would normally do that. Currently, we offer modifications and accommodations, but there will come a place here where we do have to have an expectation that we're now at a place where we need our folks in the building because that's where the kids are. We're working with the union on like when that is, how all that happens. I think certainly after the vaccination part, I think that's somewhere there is where that begins to happen. Because up to that point, I don't think we can force someone to come into a building when they know that it could be bad for their health. And we haven't so far.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, we have 3 action items this evening. The first action item is the budget committee appointments. The district received 4 applications for the 4 open budget committee positions. Board members Kate Grandusky and Valerie Ingram conducted informal Zoom interviews with each candidate. And I think they may give us their recommendations here in just a moment. We have of the 4 positions, 2 of the positions are 3-year positions. 1 position is a 2-year budget position, and then 1 position is for the alternate budget committee member. It looks like it ends just in June of this year. So so with that, Kate and Val, I don't know, do you, can I ask you if you have recommendations?
Yes, yes, we do. I want to thank the 4 individuals that applied, and I also want to thank Kathy Branson for setting up the meetings. They went very, very well. So I would like to move to appoint Melinda Fisher to a 3-year budget committee position ending June 20th, 2023.
Okay, so, so we'll need to just a procedural, just to share the procedural process here. We're going to do this 4 times for each
Right,
position,
right.
one at a time. And so you're correct, Kate. We can, you have made a motion, I believe, to appoint. Is that right, Kathy? It's a,
Yes, each
do we?
person,
we do a-
yeah, 4 separate motions, one for each position and,
Okay, got
and the
it.
name of the person. That way
Got it.
we're official.
Okay, okay. So Kate, can you just repeat your first motion, if you
Yes.
would?
Yes. I move to appoint Melinda Fisher to a 3-year budget committee position ending June 20th, 2023.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I would just like to say that Melinda has served before on the budget committee. She was the chair last spring and did an excellent job.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. I am a yes on that motion. Brad?
Yes.
All right. Narce?
Yes.
Val?
Yes.
And Kate?
Yes.
Okay, thanks very much. That's one position.
The second position, I move to appoint Sujay Hernandez Lopez to a 3-year budget committee position ending June 20th, 2023.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Hey, Mark, can I vote right now? I'm going to lose service just for a minute or 2.
Yes, go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. I'd like to vote yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
I'll be
right.
back in a couple minutes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Narce,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and Kate.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. I don't know if I said that. So, okay, that's the second 3-year position. So now we're down to the 2-year and the alternate. Okay.
Okay, I move to appoint Deb Sims to a 2-year budget committee position ending June 30th, 2022.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We'll take a roll call vote. I'm a yes. Brad?
Yes.
Narce
Yes.
and Kate
Yes.
and Val, if she's there. Okay, I think we lost Val. We have 4 yeses though, so that would be approved. Okay. And then position number 4.
And I move to appoint Stephanie Rose to the alternate budget committee position ending June 30th, 2021.
Okay. I'll second that. And we'll do a roll call vote. So I'm a yes. Brad,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Narce,
Yes.
and Val. Okay, again, I think we've lost Val, so that's 4 yeses. So I think that that should carry. So, okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for doing the interviews and the review of the candidates, Kate and Val. Thank you. Okay, we're on to our next action item, which is get to it here. It's the David Hill property purchase resolution. And this is presented by Eileen Clute this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight we have the David Hill property purchase for you. In the board packet was a copy of the resolution and the contract for it. To go over a few of the highlights in it, we've been working with both Venture Properties and the city over the last several months and year on purchasing property. This 16 acres was set aside in the original city's most recent city's master plan as a 10-acre school site and a 6-acre park site. In working with the city, what we've determined is the best interest in both of our parties at this time is that the district go ahead and purchase the 16 acres as a whole. What this does is it allows us flexibility when it comes time to be able to grow and expand and build a new elementary school or expand programs, whatever that need is as we come into our next couple of bonds. So by us purchasing the full 16, it just allows us a lot more flexibility in our planning and what we can do with that property. As a result, though, what we're going to do is enter into a longer-term intergovernmental agreement with the city, and this will allow them an opportunity to purchase up to 2 acres of the total 16 for a future park site. But what that does is it allows us that flexibility to be able to determine where the 2 acres is and not have to decide that now and have that as a barrier for us in the future. So that's why the acreage has gone up from 10 acres to now 16 total, and we'll purchase the full property. In the resolution, there's a few different things happening. One is the approval of the acquisition of the property and allowing the execution of the financing agreement. In that, it sets parameters for us as we start to go out and secure financing and finalize the purchase. It sets a max purchase price at $307,773.95 per acre. It sets the financing not to exceed 5% or 20 years. And then it allows for both, depending on what our options are and what the best plan for the district is once we go out and start trying to procure financing. It allows us to either go with a private placement, a bank, or go out for public offerings. So like a full faith and credit obligation bond. So it gives us a lot of flexibility in being able to find what's right for the district. In the resolution, it also designates either the superintendent or the business manager to find the financing, secure it, and finalize it, and finalize the contract. And then it appoints Piper Sandler as our agent and underwriter. So they're going to be the ones to help us find the financing for this and find what's going to best meet what our parameters are. And then lastly, it appoints our special counsel. So it appoints who our legal counsel is relating to both if we go out for full faith and credit obligation and reviewing this contract. So those are the main pieces within the resolution that you'll see. Our goal in securing financing and looking at what we're trying to achieve as we go over the next 3-4 months is really, we want to use the construction excise tax funds. These funds are designed to support growth and development within the community. It's tax on new square footage built into our community. So it's really supposed to accommodate that growth. It can be used for land purchases or capital construction. So this really fits in with that need. In looking at what type of a loan or how long it is, whether it's a 15 or a 20-year loan, what we're really looking at is my goal is to have about $1.5 million down, utilizing what we have in those construction excise tax funds now, and then not to exceed an annual payment of over $300,000 after that, so that we can continue to make this payment the best we can with utilizing those funds. Little to no general fund impact. There is always a risk with construction excise tax funds because it's based on community development. So if we have a big lull, there could potentially be a risk. But we have the capital, we have the account balance in there. And I think over time, we should be okay. That's where the $300,000 annual cap is that I'm looking at. Looking out 10 years, pretty comfortable with this kind of parameter or goal for walking in and working with our underwriter. So I guess I would ask if you guys have any questions.
So I have a question, I was just doing the rough math. So it's around 4.9 million, something like that. Is that right? And I think you said you're hoping to have 1.5 million down. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we'd be paying the what, 3.4, 3.3, something like that. That's what we'd be paying over time. Is that right, Eileen?
That's what I'm hoping for going into it. But again, as we start to work with the agent and the underwriter and the different options, we might put a little bit less down, but pay more over time so it's really going to depend on what options we have as we start to go through this process. We will start probably late February, early March on initiating. It's similar to like an RFP process. To where we go out and we try to secure the best options for the district. So, and that's where Piper Sandler is really going to be key in helping us.
Okay. And are the rates, the interest rates low now? Are they still?
I used 3.5% in my projections as kind of a midpoint. I think that's pretty conservative. We have 5% in here as a max cap, but that's because we don't know what's going to happen between now and June. So it gives us the flexibility to be able to still accommodate things that are going to happen in the next several months. So.
Okay.
And I have just one comment. I think, Eileen, you'll keep us posted as we go through this process, where we land, and kind of a progress update then?
I will, as soon as we're done with the RFP type process, securing what that is, I'll keep you guys updated on what we finalize and how it's going. So either through the Friday memo or board.
What about the developer and increasing cost per acre? Did they do that, or they did?
They did. And the price we're paying per acre is what the developer paid the landowner per acre. And unfortunately, just the long conversation process, they had clauses in their contract that if it went over so many days or a certain point, then their rate increased. And so they're passing, it's basically a percentage of acreage out of the total. They're using that and allocating it to us. So we did end up increasing the price per acre a couple of months ago when we started talking through that. But we're still paying the same price per acre that the developer is paying.
Thanks.
Okay, and somewhere down the road, we will sell 2 acres back to the city, right? So that'll defer some of the cost, right?
Yep. And if we did sell it back, then that revenue would then go back into this account to help pay off this loan.
Yeah.
So it would.
So if we sold the property back to the city, 2 acres, would it be at market value at the time, like if it was 3 years from now, 4 years from now, or would it be the same price that we're paying per acre?
So we're still working with the city on an intergovernmental agreement establishing this. We don't have anything set in stone. Initially, what I'm hoping to put in the contract is at a price to be determined at that date, so that we could use either that market value. We have a little bit. There's options later on.
Okay.
Eileen, that's what I would recommend. I mean, they drug this out longer than probably it should have been drug out. So I would recommend that we have that clause in that contract to make sure that we can recoup as much as that cost of the increase as we can.
So Eileen, did they agree to pay some of the difference here because they No, they didn't do that.
No, but when we, when and if we resell the 2 acres back to the city, that's where we would either do market value, we'd recoup our costs. So that's where we'll have the conversation then.
When I read the final agreement, it was the second piece of the attachment. It said it was going to be 3 parcels, but then we're talking about 10 and 6. So is it 3 parcels or is it 2 parcels?
That's a great question, Kate. The entire property that Venture purchased from the landowner is, I think, 37 acres.
Yeah.
And the developer is splitting that 37 into 3 different parcels. They've already done it. So most of the legwork around that. So it's going to be the developer's parcel and then the school district's 10 and the city's 6. But we're purchasing the 10 and 6 combined.
Right. Right. So do we have to, so if we did like 10, if we did 14 and then the city did 2, do we have to submit something to the county? Is there additional cost on how we divvy that up or no?
Well, there would be, so if we purchased the 16 as a whole, we sold 2 acres to the city and we have this 2 acres left, say, kind of unused by the district between what we developed and sold off. Then that 2 acres, we would be able to either divide the property with a property line adjustment and then we could sell it off. There's a lot of things that we could do with it, or so we're not locked into owning that forever.
I would just make another suggestion that somewhere in that agreement with the city, that if there is a cost for subdividing that lot after the fact, that they are the ones responsible for that cost.
Yeah. There was another, I probably should have called you beforehand. I apologize. What is a 1031 exchange? That was it was under E. So I didn't know what that was.
That's a good question. Kate, I'll get you some information on that.
Yeah, okay. And the other thing is, what about fire protection? Are there fire hydrants out on that section now? You know, or once that it's developed, the developers have to put in lines for hydrants, etc.
So the developers will put in for their development. The city's long-term plan ultimately is to put another road that will go north of the property that we're purchasing. So utilities and amenities would come in through that road, I believe. But for us, if we want to develop before then, that's where when we were negotiating, I wanted to get as much of the southern piece of the property and the city take more of the northern piece, because that southern piece has access to the amenities through the development. So we wouldn't have to, it has the sewer lines and stuff through the development. So we wouldn't have to, there's still options to be able to build before the city puts in that road.
Yeah. The only thought I would have, it seems like it's open-ended right now, is that Lyle is going to develop, he's going to put in 25 acres. This is the plan, whether it happens or not, for an educational facility. And it's going to butt up against the north end of that property line. And it would be nice to have, I guess the kids can walk, you know, it's not that far. But it would be nice to have some kind of partnership with that educationally. So I'd like us to keep that in mind down the road. But of course, everything depends on cost and what kind of money we have. Thank you.
Eileen, do we know what the city is thinking about doing with once they buy that property?
The 2 acres set aside is in the city's master plan as a future park site. So it should be, we're hoping for something similar to what we have like at Joseph Gale, where we have a city park right adjoining to the school itself. And so you can use both amenities, and it's there kind of as a partnership. So if they do build a park there, it would look similar as what Joseph Gale does, where it's a school site and park site next to.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions for Eileen?
Comment.
Okay.
Nice job, Eileen.
Yeah,
This
great
took-
job.
This took you a little time, didn't it?
It did. It was, yeah, I think we started last November, December.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's been a long process, but it's good. It's the right, it gives us opportunities in the future for, growing for our students and expanding.
nice job. Okay. All right, so I'll make a motion that we approve the proposed resolution 20-21 R03 to purchase and secure financing for approximately 16 acres of real property north of David Hill Road.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, or is there any questions or discussion? Okay. Hearing none, call for the vote. I'm a yes. Kate,
Yes,
Brad,
Yes.
Narce,
Yes.
and Val.
Yes.
Okay, that
You're back.
that motion passes. So
Thank
thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks, Eileen.
Kind of in the dark there, Val.
Sorry.
Okay.
I was trying to rush in and just get back on.
Okay, our last action item here is the title is to suspend the 2020-2021 student athletic fees. And again, this is Eileen.
Thank you. So tonight we have for you a recommendation for the Forest Grove School Board to approve suspending student athletic fees for this year. Due to the COVID closures and the shutdowns, the athletic season has been pushed back. It will, if it starts, it's planning on starting on February 22nd for practices. But what this will do is it'll cut the regular seasons down into half of what they typically would be. And what that looks like, how many games they're really going to be able to play, if spectators are going to be there. There's just a lot of variables. The season isn't going to look like a normal season for athletics this year. But this request comes, we'd like to reduce as many barriers as we can to be able to get students out there engaging and playing sports and being active as we can. So this would eliminate that financial burden some families may have this year because of COVID.
Okay. Any questions for Eileen? Or
Can you remind us of the fee amount?
Yes. So a typical sport is $125 per sport per student. Reduced lunch is $75. Free lunch students is $40. And then the annual family cap is $400. Last year, not last year, that was an irregular year because we didn't have spring sports, but the year prior, 2018, 2019, we generated $56,000 worth of athletic fees. So this year, that's in the cash flow and my projections. I've already taken it out just with the unknown of if we were going to have athletic fees or if we were going to have sports at all. So I think for the benefit outweighs the the financial impact to the district right now.
And Eileen, I don't know this, at the middle school level, if they were to have any kind of organized athletics for part of the spring, or there's no fees for those students to participate, right? I mean, if they had anything, I know it's not OSAA endorsed or anything.
Honestly, I didn't pull the middle school stuff. I just pulled the secondary stuff, but I would hope that we would do the same for middle school that we would secondary.
Okay. Okay, I agree, so,
Going to make a motion, Mark.
sure.
I move that we waive the athletic fees for the upcoming, for this school year because of the uncertainty of what's going to be happening.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion before we vote? Okay, so hearing none. Kate,
Yes,
Brad,
Yes.
Narce,
Yes.
Valerie,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well, so that that passes. So thanks
Thank you.
everybody for that. Thanks, Eileen. And those are our action items for this evening. We've got just future board items and board discussion, I think.
I might just highlight one thing for you all. In the information is the enrollment report.
Okay.
And just wanted to kind of let you know what's going on with our enrollment because of October 1, we were down 362 kids over the prior year. And then on October 14th, we were 348. November 2nd, we were 318. And December 1st, we're now at 310. So just, we're still down, but we've brought back now 52 students that were originally gone. So we're seeing some changes there. So just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Is that, Dave, you don't know the grade level? Was that, I know we lost mostly at the younger grades. Is that probably where?
Yeah, the numbers he gave me were summary ones, but I think in the enrollment report, they will have it broken out by grade level, so we could probably see there.
Okay, all right. Okay, and then I'll just throw out the reminder, it's in the board packet that the Washington County Legislative Summit is this Thursday, January 14th. And it says 5 to 9, but I think it's 5:30 to 8:30 are the actual times for the summit. And obviously it's a Zoom summit meeting. You can register for it, and I would say it'd be great to attend all of it, but if you can only attend part of it, that'd be fine too. So I think when you go to register, I think you can take a look at the agenda too. So
Mark, how many of us are already registered then?
Well, I think just me.
Okay.
I think
Okay,
I saw the list today, and I think I'm the only one registered, and I'm on the committee that's planning the thing. So we've had, I think, 3 meetings to plan this one meeting already. So
All right, I will talk with Kathy then.
yeah.
I don't think I can register you the way it is. You need to register yourself, your emails. I'm sorry to say that, but
How does that work?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do this one on your own, Brad.
Yeah.
I will send the link out again in the morning.
Oh, I'm kidding. I have it.
Okay. All
Mark,
right.
I wanted to go, but I have the Centro Cultural Board meeting.
Okay. Yeah. You're busy. Okay. Well, we'll bring.
Miley needs to register as well. Miley, can you?
Oh, I did. I think I did. I got
perfect.
I registered.
Okay.
Oh, you did. Okay. Okay. So yeah, we'll bring a report back, Narce, after that. So, and share that.
Actually, at night, Mark, it's not the Centro Cultural Board. We have a Men of Color event virtually on campus for our students. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I think with that, unless there's any other comments, okay. With that, we will adjourn the meeting, and the meeting is adjourned at 6:40 p.m. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks
Mark.
everybody.
Thanks,
See you guys.
everybody.